Okay, great. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you a little quote that I found that I think is very profound. And it says this. It says, cooking is like painting or writing a song. And I thought, what? Cooking is like painting or writing a song. Just as there are only so many notes or colors, there are only so many flavors. It's how you combine them that sets you apart. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to repeat that because I love it. Cooking is like painting or writing a song. Just as there are only so many notes or colors, there are only so many flavors. It's how you combine them that sets you apart. So are you ready to be set apart? Are you ready to make some nutritious, flavorful meals that also you don't have to feel guilty about eating, right? Okay, we are. So today, as many of you know, as I look in the audience, I recognize some of our wonderful friends from Prophecy Seminar. And as I look at your faces, I'm realizing that you all know that we took our daughter to college. And so it's been a very busy summer. And so I thought I have some amazing chefs, friends of mine. So I asked them to come and actually demonstrate each a recipe. So before we start, we're going to ask the Lord's presence to be with us. Okay, we're just going to wait for a couple of seconds. And if you need a pen to write down, we have a couple little things to write on your recipes. You may want to go ahead and get a pen. Anybody else needs a pen? Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, and I would like to invite my friend David to come on up. And David is a clinical dietitian. Did you hear that? Clinical dietitian. Welcome, David. We're so glad to have you here. And David, you just finished your degree in being a dietitian, correct? And you work for Advent Health DeLand, right? Correct. And so David is going to sit over here with the orange microphone. And so whenever we have a question, you may have a seat on your bar stool there. Whenever we have a question, David will be here to answer. Isn't that awesome to have a dietitian on our team? We're so excited. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll pray and then we'll invite our first presenter. Okay, let's ask God's blessing. Father in heaven, I am so excited to be here today. Lord, we are really opening this kitchen for the first time for a cooking class. And so we're so excited for the blessing that you've given this church to be able to have such a beautiful kitchen with a stove and ovens and refrigerators. We're so blessed, Lord. And so we pray today as we celebrate this amazing blessing from you, that you will bless us as we learn how to make delicious, nutritious beans and how we can implement them in our daily lives so that our bodies can be the temple of the Holy Spirit. We pray for your blessing on this place. And we thank you and we praise you for everyone that came today, that took time of their busy lives to come and learn. And so bless them for their faithfulness and for their effort to come. And bless us now as we present. Take all of our nervousness away and help us to speak freely, just like we have our friends in our kitchen. We thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, my first friend is Kim Simons, and come on up, Kim. And Kim's daughter, Jayla, most of you have met her. She plays the violin, and she and Sarah have been friends for many, many years. And we were just taking them to college. And when my husband was getting ready to fly our little airplane back to Florida, I just broke down. And I just started weeping like never before. And my friend Kim was right there to comfort me, so I really appreciate her and her friendship. And Kim, I am so grateful that you are helping us today with learning about beans. So what are we making today? What are we spilling?
So today, I am so happy to be spilling the beans on garbanzos today. And I just need to grab my sign here. Some people call them garbanzos. Others know them as chickpea. whichever you know them as. Today, that's who I'm going to be talking about. They were one of my least favorite beans, but then I found recipes that helped me to fall in love with them. They are a superfood all over the world. Some people make hummus out of them, others make soup, and today I'm going to make a chickpea mock tuna. And I used to be a tuna lover, but I've transferred to mock tuna, and we've had a love affair. I make it for my husband as well, Raluca.
Really?
And so I feel really good about this recipe because in the morning, I could just get up and quickly put this together and make my husband smile all day. So it's a winner.
We want to do that, right? We want to, for those of us that are married, we want to put a smile on our husband's face, right? So let's see what we can make with those garbanzo beans.
Yes, so I want to let you know that these are excellent for fiber, for those who are trying to lower their blood sugar levels or to lower your cholesterol level. Fiber is excellent for that as well. So let's get started. Do you have the mock tuna recipe in front of you? Okay.
We're so grateful for Glennie. She couldn't be here today. She's doing a special event online, but she put those recipes for us. So I just want to say thank you, Glennie. She's probably going to watch it later for putting those for us in a booklet.
That is
Okay.
wonderful. So if you go down your recipe with me, what we're going to need is 1 can of garbanzos or chickpea. And I already started to blend some for you there. And then I'll show you at home. I just take this wonderful gadget my husband bought me. He still wants me in the kitchen. As you know, I'm an empty nester. So I just want to enjoy myself now. But anyway, he bought me this lovely gadget so I can have fun in the kitchen. But the great thing is we can get in the kitchen together and have fun. This is wonderful.
I have to come over now, right?
Yeah,
Now,
so-
Kim, what is this appliance that you're using? It says Cuisinart Smart Stick. I've never seen one. Have you? What
Right.
is it? Where did you get it from? That looks fun.
So Kohl's, if you go to Kohl's, you can pick up one of these.
Okay. And what are they called? Cuisinart
Smart Stick.
Smart Stick.
Yeah,
Okay,
because you
write
can
that
take-
down.
Yeah, you can take the stick off and then you can attach it to a blender. And you can blend smoothies, or if you're making soup that needs to be blended, you can just whiz that in there and voila, you would have your nice smooth soup. So
Yay.
let's see if I can do this today. So I take the chickpea and I just whiz them for a little while. And it depends on you how much you want to whiz them around, how, what shall I say, how smooth you want to get them. I like mine rather chunky. So I'll just give it a little whiz there. And that's quick and easy. And if you follow the recipe down, you're going to add 3 tablespoons of onions. Let's go down the list. 2 tablespoons of celery. And I'm just going to put that in there. And I've already chopped up all my onions and celery, so I put those beautiful red onions. I like cooking with color because
Yes.
I love colorful things. So here's my red onions, and I have some green celery here.
That looks so yummy. It smells so
Excellent.
good. Combining all this.
And then we need 1 to 2 tablespoons of relish. I'm going to do my relish first. You can get the dill or sweet. I love things sweet, so I'm going to put the sweet one here. And it says 1 to 2 tablespoons. It's up to you. I choose 1 tablespoon. I don't want my mock tuna to be too sweet, but it's totally up to you. The wonderful thing about recipes is you try them, and then you tweak them, and you make them your own.
Just
okay?
like we read, like, remember, you're an artist with food, right? A composer. Play with it.
Exactly. And then we
Yeah.
have a 1/4 cup of mayo. Now, when I say mayo, it's a little different here. Remember I said chickpeas are high in fiber. It helps to lower the cholesterol. Well, you don't have to worry about this. This is vegan mayo, so you don't have any cholesterol here to worry about. You can pick this up. It's the Hellmann's brand. You can pick this up at Publix.
Okay?
Okay, and it's wonderful to use. So I take mine, and usually what I would do in a separate bowl is I would take my mayonnaise mayonnaise, and all of my seasonings. I mix them together so I can get a nice, good blend there before I add them. But today, I'm just going to add it like this, okay? But for the samples that you will have today, I mixed it really well so that you would get bada bing, a nice flavor in every bite, okay?
It smells so good. Oh,
Right.
I'm
So-
getting hungry. I haven't actually had lunch. I just remembered. We were so busy getting ready for this. Wow,
Another
smells
thing
good.
is the Dijon mustard. Now, this also depends on your palate. I prefer to do the half a tablespoon. It says 1 to 2 tablespoons. I go with a half a tablespoon. So I'm going to put that
Okay.
in there.
That
Okay.
smells good too.
All the delicious blends, yes, that we're putting together today, Raluca. This is a half a teaspoon of garlic powder or onion powder. They're mixed together, and I just put that in there. And then, of course, it says salt to taste. It depends on your palate. I choose a half a teaspoon of salt because I try to lower my salt level, my salt intake, so that I can keep any hypertension far away from me. Okay? And then
That's
the next
right.
thing is, of course, your dill. You can use fresh dill or the dry. I preferred the dry today, and I only used a teaspoon of dill. I do love the dill flavor, and I use that in my tofu as well. It's beautiful. Some like turmeric. I chose to use a fourth of a cup of turmeric. It says a fourth of a, teaspoon, fourth of a teaspoon to a half a teaspoon. I only wanted to add a dab of that. I don't want too much
Yellow,
turmeric.
right?
Yeah.
So turmeric makes it yellow, right?
It makes it yellow, and
Yes.
turmeric is excellent
Yes.
as an inflammatory, anti-inflammatory, I should
Yes.
say. So if you
Yes.
suffer with inflammation, this is a wonderful thing to add to your diet. So then, Raluca, I'm just going to whiz this together, mix it all up, make sure it all blends together in our chickpea today. And remember, chickpeas, it is, and it tastes really good. I put it on toast for my husband in the morning, and then I give him a nice salad, or I chop up fresh veggies to go. Guilt-free breakfast, voila, and my husband's out the door, and I got a smile on his
great.
face. So remember,
So beans for breakfast, huh?
beans for breakfast. Who would have
Really?
imagined it, Raluca? And they are delicious. So
Wow, I
remember to
love
get
that.
your garbanzo beans when you're going down the aisle in the supermarket.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you so much,
It is
Kim.
my pleasure.
Excellent. We're gonna have some of that. Yes. And David, tell us, is that good? Is our garbanzos good to eat?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so as what she was saying was that it lowers blood sugar, and specifically the mechanism of that is because garbanzos is notorious for being slowly digested in our bodies. So as it is slowly digested, the absorption of the sugar, the carbohydrate from it, is also going to slowly rise and come to a normal pace. It's not going to be rise up and then straight down like simple sugars or carbohydrates, like refined. So, yes.
So
Yes.
we look forward to that. Thank you so much for that tip.
Yes,
We love
yes.
health tips from dietitians, right, and physicians. Okay, next, my friend Heather has a special.
Yes, we have door prizes. You guys all got some numbers, some tickets when you came in. So I've got my basket here. I'm going to mix them around. Does someone want to draw a number for me? All right, here we go. Okay, does everyone have their ticket out? Okay, 793938. Does anyone have that one? Okay, great. Awesome. Now we are wanting to encourage you guys to try beans at home. So we've got some wonderful canisters of beans so that you can make some bean soup at home. Very good.
Yay,
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful for my friend Heather that helped us decorate. Do you like the decor? Yes, thank you so much, Heather. Okay, now how many of you love to have brownies? Did I hear right, brownies? So I'm going to invite my next friend, Zoe, to come on up. And Zoe is actually a special ed teacher, and she works in Orlando area. And just maybe a couple years ago, she moved to the Enterprise area next to her cousin that you will get to meet next. And so we're so grateful to have Zoe as part of our church family. She has two amazing little boys. Well, they're not that little anymore, but we're so grateful. How old are your boys?
Well, my boys will be turning 10 and 9 next month, so I can't believe it. It's almost like they were born yesterday. Time just flies.
And they must like brownies, right? That's why you
Yes.
chose this awesome recipe?
They love brownies, and so do I. Anyone that knows me knows that I love sweets, but of course, I have had to learn how to manage my sweet intake.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are we going to be spilling the beans with today?
So today, I am going to be showing you how to make a healthy version of a blondie brownie made from chickpeas or garbanzos.
Wow, chickpeas again, David. Wow. Here we go.
Yes.
Chickpeas, the bean of the day, right?
So a little history about the blondie brownie is that it was first notated in a cookbook back in 1896. It came out, it was a cookbook called the Boston Cookbook. And the difference between a blondie brownie and a regular brownie is that in the actual batter itself, it does not contain cocoa powder or anything that will make it the color chocolate, chocolate color. So I love blondies, and when I became a plant-based vegetarian about 6 years ago, and I saw this recipe, I said, oh my, I'm gonna have to try it. And I promise you, it's better than anything you've tasted.
Ooh, you're going to get to
Okay.
taste some today. Yay.
Yes. Okay, so
Okay.
for the ingredients, you will need some garbanzos. It's just one can, a 15-ounce can of garbanzos. It's 7 ingredients, by the way, only. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in.
Sometimes the simpler it is, the better it is. Less additives, less colorants. You know where your sources are coming from, so it makes it more intentional when it comes to cooking and eating it.
Right.
So.
And so I prefer, as you mentioned, David, less sometimes is more. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put in the garbanzos, but we're not going to blend them just yet. This is why I love this recipe, because you just dump and then you run it through the food processor. Also, if you do not have a food processor, you are more than welcome to use a high-speed blender, but I would recommend that it is a good high-speed blender. I've done it
Okay.
before, and it works just as well.
How many of you like to just dump and be done with it, right? Yes, this is easy. Okay.
And so the next ingredient is we are going to put in a half a cup of almond butter.
Ooh.
Now, you can substitute this for peanut butter if you prefer. I prefer almond butter. It has good benefits, and you can also find. Some people say, oh, almond butter is pretty expensive, but if you go to Sam's, it's not that bad. It's about $5.98, so just under $6, you can get this nice tub of almond butter.
I didn't know that. That's great to know. That looks so yummy, and it smells good and fresh.
Yes.
Sometimes when
Okay.
you buy stuff that has been sitting for a while, you can tell. So I love when they smell fresh.
And then, so we are going to add our sweetener. So in order to sweeten these beans, we're going to use maple syrup. In your recipe, it does say you can use maple syrup or you can use honey. I personally prefer the maple syrup because there are a lot more benefits to maple syrup. If you do the comparison to both of them, this definitely has a lot more health benefits to it than the honey. And it's less sugar too, by the way.
Yes, definitely. Is that right, David? Using maple syrup?
So that sorry, it was just 1/3 cup.
I was going to say that the honey is more concentrated in fructose compared to maple syrup. Maple syrup is less concentrated when it comes to that sweet fructose that can raise your blood sugar up rapidly.
Okay.
It's excellent to know. Excellent.
And the next step is just about 1.5 tablespoons of vanilla. I've also done it with just 1 tablespoon, so it's fine if you don't want to add the extra half. We're going to dump it in there. And then we are going to add some baking soda to this. It's about 1/4 teaspoon. I'm sorry, baking powder, not baking soda. Thank you for the correction there. I prefer to use baking powder in my recipes just because of the soda taste. If you prefer the soda, you can use the soda. Thank you. And then I'm going to add some salt. Now, I've adjusted my recipe a little bit to put a little less salt because I found that this almond butter already, it's just almonds, but it does have a little bit of salt. So if you prefer your brownie to be, less salty, which I do, I adjusted it. On the recipe, it says half a teaspoon, but I'm going to add a quarter of a teaspoon just because there is already salt here inside of the almond butter.
Okay.
And then we are going to close it, give it a whirl.
Okay. This is one of the first time we're using this wonderful food processor.
And you're just going to turn it on, not pulse it. You turn it on and you let it run so that it can be smooth a minute or two, depending on how good your food processor or your high-speed blender is. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
All right, so while we wait, another interesting fact is garbanzos. The reason why we call them chickpeas is because chickpeas is the English name, and garbanzo, or garbanzo, if you're Spanish, is the Spanish name. Guess it doesn't matter, but I just wanted to share that little tidbit with you. It looks like this is a wonderful machine, so we're gonna stop it. See how nice and smooth it is? And once it's nice and smooth, sometimes depending on what you have, you may have to run your spatula down the sides just to ensure that all of the garbanzos are blended.
It smells so good. Oh, I
Yes.
want brownies.
Now we are going to add, in the recipe I put carob chips because we know that carob is the healthier version. But the samples that you have today, I have used some vegan chocolate chips. These are very healthy. You can find these at Target, Publix. It used to be that you can only find these types of things at a health food store, but now they're really available anywhere you go.
So how many of you have heard of carob chips before? Oh, look at you guys. How did you? Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, okay, good. Then we don't have to explain.
And lately, carob chips have been a little hard to find, although you can
Yes.
always order them from Whole Foods. This brand is an excellent brand. However, if you are going to use carob chips, you may need to adjust the maple syrup just because carob is a little sweeter, usually or typically, than the chocolate chips.
So don't add as much maple syrup or whatever you're
Yes.
using as a sweetener. Okay.
Or maybe less carob chips. So
Okay.
now we're going to add the chips to the batter. We're going to close it, and then this time we're going to pulse it just until it's evenly distributed. You can kind of tell by looking. Give it a
That
few
looks so
pulses.
good.
We're gonna
Beautiful.
open it
Look
back
at
up.
that.
I forgot to mention, if you are using the food processor, make sure that it is that you have your S blade. Very important. See how it's an S? So you
Yes.
definitely want to use your S blade for that. Okay, thank you. And then all we're gonna do is we're gonna pick this up. I'm sorry, Raluca.
okay.
Not sure how to.
Side.
There you go. Thank you. And you're just gonna pour your batter into an 8x8. It's the same
Okay.
as a brownie pan, an 8x8. Now this is one recipe. You are welcome to double it. I have doubled it before and put it in a larger pan. That is okay to do.
Do your boys like this?
They
brownies?
love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Kids may like it too.
Yes. And then all you're going to do is spread it in your parchment-lined baking dish. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. I like to line it with parchment, but I've done it before without the parchment paper. It's okay, you can, but it may stick to the bottom. I just prefer to do oil-free, so that's the reasoning behind the parchment paper. Plus, it gives it like an added brown color for some reason.
Yeah, that looks so amazing, and it's blondie. It's not,
Yes,
black
it's
brownies.
blondie.
It's blondie.
Let me
Woo.
run over to the oven and show you what it looks like once it's done.
Yes, we want to see what it looks like, don't we? You can bring it in between rows. Oh,
And trust me, you can fool everybody. It kind of looks like a cookie once you cut it up. It's delicious. They will never know there's garbanzos in there.
That's right. That's how you can hide it in the dish, right?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. That was just so awesome. We want some brownie, don't we? Okay, and now your cousin is going to come on up. And thank you so much, Zoe. And Ayla's going to come on up. So Ayla and Zoe are cousins, and they are just a few minutes apart. They get to live by each other. And so, Ayla, tell me a little bit more about what is the most known, especially in America and actually around the world, fast food restaurant? You guys know? Do you know?
McDonald's.
Yes, McDonald's. Yes, we're actually in Edinburgh, Scotland one time, and we could not find a bathroom. Those of you who have been to Europe, sometimes it's very difficult to go to the bathroom. They don't have them like America. And we were visiting there just for the day, and we had to actually go to McDonald's and buy something to be able to use the restroom. So they have them now all over the place. So McDonald's, huh?
Yes, so you guys were right. McDonald's is the most popular fast food restaurant. Yes. So the Big Mac is their most popular burger. It has 28 grams of fat. 10 of those grams are saturated fat, which is bad fat. And also it has 80 milligrams of cholesterol. So no bueno.
Oh, yeah.
The
We
average
don't want to eat
American,
that,
yeah,
do
we
we?
certainly don't want to eat that. The average American consumes about 3 burgers a week, which I found that to be kind of high. And that's about 50 billion burgers a year. So that's anywhere from homemade burgers to store-bought burgers. So we do know that people love burgers. So much, I found out recently, that there's a National Burger Day. You just missed it, though. It was in May. But don't worry. If you love burgers, there's still another National Burger Day. Guess what? Cheeseburger Day. It's coming September 18th. So put your nice, yummy plant-based cheese on there, and you can celebrate with a nice plant-based burger.
Yes.
So today I'm going to be spilling the beans on burgers.
Yes,
okay? But
let's
I'm going to
spill
give
them.
you a healthier option. We are going to be making black bean burgers. Now we're going to be using another kind of bean, which is black bean. Now black beans are actually on the top list of healthy beans, and they have a lot of fiber, as we said before. They help lower cholesterol, and they're very good for you. They're also high in magnesium and potassium. So black beans are really, really good for you.
Yeah.
This recipe is literally easy peasy. That's why I called it the easy peasy black bean burger. There's a lot of black bean burger recipes out there, but I found that this one is literally the most easiest dumping, since we all love dumping ingredients. It seems like this is actually a fast food burger per se, because it's very fast to make and it's really easy. So let's get started. If you turn with me to your black bean burger recipe, one thing we need to know is that we forgot to actually write
most important
the
ingredient.
star of this recipe, the black beans. So if you want to jot down, it's 1 can of black beans.
And is that a 15 ounce?
So this is actually, yes, a 15
A
ounce.
15 ounce.
15 ounce,
So
yes.
write that too.
So first thing you're going to do is you're going to drain your black beans. I've already drained mine. Make sure they're really well drained, because you don't want any of the juices. You want it really drained. So you're going to go ahead and put that into your bowl, okay? And then you're going to take a potato masher and you're going to exercise for the day.
Oh, that looks like a
And you're gonna
good
mash.
bicep and tricep and
Yeah.
shoulder. Woo!
So if you didn't get a good workout,
You don't need to go to the gym maybe
just
that
make a
day if you
black
make
bean
a bunch.
burger.
If you
That's
make
right.
a bunch, right? Make it for the month.
that's right.
Do they freeze well?
They freeze very well. And one thing to note is you don't want to mash all the black beans. It's nice to leave some whole black beans in there.
Okay.
And so I think I've got them pretty mashed.
That looks great.
And so what you want to do next is you want to take your salsa. Now I am using Newman's salsa, but you can use your favorite salsa. I like this mango salsa. I feel that black bean and mango, they pair really nice together, like love and marriage. So I'm going to use
So
the
where
mango
did you
salsa.
where did you find that, Ayla?
Good old Publix, guys.
Okay,
Publix.
Publix.
Yes.
The Newmans.
So I like to put the salsa right after the mashed beans, and then just kind of let them get acquainted a little bit in there.
Yeah.
And then just kind of stir it around. And then we're going to put our flour or quick oats. I've done this recipe with actually both, and they both work wonderful. I am using flour today, and that's 1/3 of a cup.
So if
because-
somebody is gluten-free, could they use a gluten-free flour? Any type
yes,
of flour that would work?
absolutely. And also gluten-free oats as well. That's why I love this recipe, because it
It's amazing
It's for
how
everyone.
it's sticking
Yeah.
together, right? You would think beans and salsa.
yes. So I encourage you to use a wooden spoon, but sometimes I like to get dirty in the kitchen, so
Just use your
my
hands.
hands are clean, so guess what? I'm about to get dirty here. So it's good to incorporate it with your hands. It just helps, with the flour and with all the ingredients.
And
So-
Ayla is an amazing baker. Were you here for one Saturday when we invited you to keep the Sabbath? And she made those cupcakes. She made all of those.
I did.
And so I can see her baking hand in there, right? With that burger.
So now we're going to put our seasoning. So we have, again, easy to remember, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, onion powder, and garlic powder, and they're all 1/4 teaspoon. So that's easy
Okay.
to memorize, really. You can memorize this recipe and do it anywhere.
And
So
how
that's
many
about it.
burgers does that make?
So this makes about 4 to 5. It depends how big you like your burger. Some people like really big, thick burgers. Some people like them thinner. So it really depends.
Okay.
So after you've incorporated your seasonings, you're just going to form the patties or the burgers.
Good.
And I'll do that, and I'll show you briefly.
Yeah.
Let's
That
put
looks
this down
good.
here.
So you just have to
So
work
you
with
take
your hands.
work with your hands. So I find that the easiest way to make these is you want to kind of like wet your hands first. I didn't do that for just time purposes, but you wet your hands first, and then you form the patty. Just grab a handful of the mixture,
That
and you
looks
just
so
create the
good.
patty like this.
Who would
And
have
so-
thought just from a few little ingredients?
Yes, exactly. So you can make, like I said, 4 to 5 patties, and then you're going to put it on a pan. You're going to saute them on both sides until they're brown, and that's it. And if you make double or triple batch, you can actually lay them in a baking pan and then stick them in the oven, 350, about 14 minutes, and that's it. And you can add more salt, but the fixings, I feel that the fixings such as like mustard or mayo or what else? Oh, pickles. Some people love to put pickles on their burgers. I know my boys do. And they're a little bit on the salty side, so that's why there's not a lot of salt in the actual burger. But once you put your favorite fixings, it is yummy. So
Oh,
let me
thank
show
you.
you. Actually,
Oh,
if you can, since
yes.
my hands are dirty. You can show them the finished product from there. Oh, I can't touch
Yeah,
the
we'll
mic.
Look at that. Does that look like, that looks better than McDonald's, doesn't it? Way better. Let's give Ayla a big hand. Woo! Looks so good. So good. Look how good the color looks, and I can see the beans in them. And oh, thank you so much, Ayla. Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes, do you have a question?
Yes, 350, about 14 minutes.
350.
Oh, on the oven, it's going to be about 3 minutes, I would say, on each side. Maybe a little less.
Yes, and Cindy?
Yes. Actually, this bread is, hubby, can you help me here? The
Dave's.
Dave's. Have you seen them? It's at Publix. Dave's. Is it Dave's Best? Dave's Killer Bread. Dave's Killer Bread, because it is killer. It's good. They actually have 2 types of burgers, burger buns, I believe. So.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you so much. Let's give Ayla a big applause. Thank you so much. And I think, David, I think you had a question.
Well,
or
I
a
was going to
comment.
say,
Yeah.
easy way to identify Dave's Killer's Bread. It's a guy with a guitar and super muscular. So it won't be easy. It won't be easy to miss. But something with that brand is that it tries to use more of the natural side, like cane sugar, not a lot of processed sugars or additives again. So it's pretty good. And another thing too with the salt that she was saying to avoid, avoid putting too much salt if you're already gonna add dill and pickles and other things that are high in sodium. That's why also is not just for the texture, but the sodium content in the can is good to rinse off your beans. And beans naturally are high in potassium, which have been associated with lowering blood pressure. So it's like the total opposite as a conventional burger.
Publix, probably. And I've even seen
Walmart
stuff
has
on
it,
Walmart too. Yeah. Costco has certain breads, and okay, good job. All right, Heather, you have a little prize for us.
Time for another door prize, and I love the tip on the salsa. Does anyone on this side want to draw the ticket this time? Sorry about that. Thank you. Do I have a volunteer on this side? Yeah, you want to do that for me? Okay. Do you want to read it?
793910.
Oh, very good. Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you. All right, thanks so much. And I think we're ready for our next recipe, Ms. Verluca.
Yes, thank you so much, Heather. And I would like to invite my friend Maria and Tina to come on up. And I know Maria loves to cook, and I think Tina does too. And so what are we going to be making today?
Okay, so we are going to spill the beans by demonstrating and making summer blast salad.
Woo! I love that!
Okay, this chilled salad is an edamame feast. Edamame are soybeans that are harvested at the peak of ripening, but just before they harden. They are full of protein, minerals, and vitamins. So this is our edamame, so that you can see it. And it's really good. And
Where did you get them from?
we got them at Publix, actually. We went to Aldi, and they did not have any at all.
Oh, that's good to know. What about Walmart? Did anybody try Walmart?
We did not go to Walmart.
Okay. So they do have them. Good to know. Perfect.
Okay, first we're going to start out with 2 large ears of corn. If you'd like to get the regular corn, you need to cook it and take off the husk. But we decided to get frozen corn. It's 2 cups of frozen corn, and we'll put that in here. 2 cups.
All right.
Our next one is the cherry tomatoes, halved. We got all these at Aldi's, and they have really good prices. Our next one is frozen shelled edamame, 1.5 cups. We put that all together.
Yeah.
And the next one is avocado, diced avocado, 1 cup of diced avocado. Red onion.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yes, diced red onion, 1 red onion.
Okay.
Fresh herbs. We decided to use the cilantro, but you can use any other, where is it here?
Some other herbs?
Other herbs. Here
Oh,
it is.
mint or basil.
We could use mint, basil, or cilantro, or dill, but we decided to use the cilantro.
Okay.
And now we have our dressing.
So you mix them a
We
little bit.
mix them up a little bit
Okay.
to make it incorporated. Mix it up a little.
Okay.
And the dressing is olive oil, 1 tablespoon of olive oil,
Okay.
fresh lemon juice, 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. Tina's going to put that in the little
bowl.
bowl,
so she can mix
and the
it.
salt, a pinch of salt. We're using Himalayan Himalayan salt.
Yeah, that's
This
excellent.
is the best salt.
Yes.
And we try to use less because we don't want too much salt. But this is the best salt to use, the Himalayan.
Boy, that looks so beautiful and colorful, doesn't it?
And minced
Oh.
garlic. We used 1 clove of
Oh.
minced garlic.
You get that garlic in there. Oh, it's going to make it taste so yum. Oh, wow.
Tina's going to mix it together.
Oh, yeah. That looks good.
Smells really good.
Yeah.
Delicious. And we're going to pour it on top.
Gonna say it again.
I'm sorry, we're going to pour it on top, and we're going to just give it a little mix.
Mix it together.
Wow, that looks so good. That's excellent.
Smells so good, and it is awesome.
Yay! Thank you. That looks wonderful. I love that. I love salads and things. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. And David, any comments about the edamame beans? Any
Yes.
good nutrition there?
Everything there is wonderful. So to start off, the salt, pink salt is higher in minerals compared to your regular sea salt or iodized salt. So that's why it's more preferred. The edamame is actually one of the main plant-based sources of getting all your amino acids. So all your 9 essential amino acids, you can just get it from that soybean. So when they say, just eating animal products, where do you get all your protein? Edamame is the perfect substitute for that. Also been shown to reduce cholesterol significantly. And one thing I forgot to mention was the red onion. So why the red onions can be a little better compared to the white is because that reddish color, God made everything intentional. So the richer the color is, the more antioxidants or plant chemicals, phytochemicals are there. So anthocyanins are very important into preventing cancer cells, anti-carcinogenic.
That's excellent.
Thank you
for sharing that.
Cool. We do. How about I draw it this time?
Ed?
Okay, get your tickets out. It's 793909. Oh, very good. Awesome. Another one. You guys are just going to love this. I love beans. Since I've started eating healthier, I eat a can of beans a day. And at first I thought it was going to be really crazy and hard, but man, it just keeps you filled. Then you don't crave the sugary or the crunchy snacks as much. And I've loved it. So it's fun to
thank
see all these
you.
new recipes.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Miss Tina is our health ministry director for our church, and she is a nurse practitioner, and she is married to an amazing man, Dr. George Guthrie. And he not only is a physician, he also plays the organ and the piano. And Dina has been my American Florida mom, and it's been so much fun working with her. And the reason this cooking school is happening to her is because she kept begging. Come on, let's start one, let's go on. I was like, I'm so tired from the prophecy seminar. Can we wait till September or October? Come on, let's do one. Diabetes undone and all this. So I'm so glad we're here today, and I'm so glad you all are sharing this with us. So I'm so privileged to work with you, Dina, and I'm so excited about what you're going to be making because that's a staple in our house, beans, breakfast beans.
I just want to say a big thank you to Raluca and Heather and this whole team. This has been amazing. If in case I don't get a chance again. I'm really honored that 2 of the folks who used to work on our team at a larger church in Apopka are both here today taking notes, right? They're both fabulous cooks. And anyway, it's really fun to be here. And working with Raluca has taken cooking schools to a whole new level. It's just been really fun. Anyway, we're going to spill the beans back onto breakfast again. How many of you have ever tried beans for breakfast? I'd like to see your hands. That's a good number, and we'd like to see everybody's hands go up on this.
Yes.
Okay, so this recipe is so simple that it's almost...
We love simple.
Yeah. Look at the number of ingredients in here. It's very, very small. What we're going to use is the large lima bean. And when I say large, I mean large. Isn't that interesting? They come in small, but they come in large too. And the funny thing about these is they break down. That's a 1 pound bag, by the way. These break down really fast and really well. They get soft, and when you stir them, they turn creamy and mushy, like you're going to see here in just a few minutes. This is great to do the night before. You just put your beans in a crock pot, cover them with about 2 inches of water, add the salt as requested there on your recipe. And I would like to make a comment about salt. I don't know if my husband commented on this too. If you're not using iodized salt, if you're using some other kind of salt with more minerals and all that, make sure you're getting your iodine from somewhere else. It is an essential ingredient that we often overlook in favor of all these exotic salts, but just remember iodine is essential. So where else are we getting it? And maybe my husband can talk about that in the short lecture coming up. Just make sure you're getting it. So I plug it in, cap it off, and wherever my cap went, and those beans are
That's right.
are ready to cook overnight. Now, normally you would not add salt to beans. Why?
Because they makes them tough, hard.
It makes them really tough. But this bean, and the same thing with lentils pretty much, they break down quickly. Did you know that in a half a cup of these beans, there is 7 grams of beautiful protein?
Ooh,
no
that looks
animal
so
fats in
good.
there, just lovely protein. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is put about 2 tablespoons of oil in a little pan, and I'm going to dump my onions in there. This is a full onion. This is a half of an onion. I'm not going to take you through that. It's just simple. And then when these are soft in the morning, I pan fry those onions, add them to the beans, stir it up, and if I have too much water on top, by the way, before I add the onions, I'll take some of that water off, because it's really nice to add a little bit of soy milk. I prefer soy milk. Soy cream is sweet, and I don't particularly like sweet in these beans. We use this brand. It has no sugar in it, and once I discovered this brand, even though it's really expensive, I called the company. I said, look, don't you ever stop making this or I will cry, because it tastes so good. It tastes more like the milk I'm used to. My preference for oil would be canola oil. Olive oil, if you're going to use it, should have a very light flavor, because you don't want this to taste like olive oil. Now, I called Raluca about my beans because I was a little worried about them today. I said, they didn't turn out like I like them. And she said, don't worry, just come. So I'll tell you how she serves them and how we serve them. I often just put them in a simple bowl in the morning, serve them up, and I have my bowl here, some beans here already done. Can you see how they turned creamy? I'm going to pour them out here, but they got really, really creamy. And we like to serve them sometimes on Zwieback. Let me see the hands of those of you who have made Zwieback or know what it is. Not very many of you. Okay,
European.
so
That's
what
a
we're
European
going to
thing.
do, this is so simple. Just purchase some whole, 100% whole grain bread. I get the inexpensive kind. Sara Lee or Publix brand is what I normally get. My husband got this one. It's a little bit seeded. I prefer just the very plain, simple, 100% whole grain bread. It's lightweight. It's not like the Dave's Killer bread or one of those great breads that you were talking about earlier. It's a lighter bread, but it's 100% whole wheat. You place them on a single layer or just slightly overlapped on your cookie sheet and put them at a 190 oven for overnight. Or today I did it for about 4 hours and it still worked out. I want you to listen to this. When I break this bread, all the water is out of it. Okay, so it's like eating a cracker. Listen to this. If you can pull the mic. Can you hear that? It just breaks into a cracker. Now, my husband would say he would like peanut butter or almond butter on top of this first. And normally, because I didn't bring a dish, I'm sorry, but I would just put that piece of toast on a dish, and then I pour my beans over the top. And you can see that these are now kind of, can you see how they've changed? Their texture is no longer And you can mash these a little bit if you want to. Depends on how soupy you want them, but those are really soupy, see? Now I
they
like
look
it
so
just
good.
I like it just plain a bowl of beans. I don't have to have the bread underneath, but that's how we like it.
Looks so good.
The other thing now that Raluca told me, why don't you go for it and tell us what you do at your house?
Well, my family loves beans for breakfast. They love everyone. Sarah, Josiah, my husband. So we just chop up tomatoes and actually onions. My husband will eat onions every meal if he could. Onions and cilantro and avocado, and we spread it all around it. And I do some sesame seeds. Oh, it's so good.
So guess what we're going
So
to try
good.
next time we do these
Maybe
things.
breakfast.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, it
This
looks
is
so
what we will
good,
do.
Dina. Thank
Now,
you.
if you want to, you can add a little bit of dairy, non-dairy creamer, or not with the sweet, or just the soy milk, if that's what I've added to the beans that you'll be trying today. Unfortunately, serving them up later makes them, they'll be on the cool side, so normally you would have them hot right out of the pot. And in addition, here's a little reminder. When you put these in the fridge, or you can freeze them, but if you even just put them in the fridge, when you pull them out next time, they're going to be very thick. So you have to get them heated up and add a little bit more soy milk or water to loosen them up. Okay?
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So David, what about these beans, lima beans?
So lima beans is, of course, every bean is good, but lima beans specifically is rich in copper, and copper has been shown to help with your immune system and improve brain function. So something to keep in mind as you use that to cook. Also, one thing I wanted to point out was the canola oil. So it is good that she used the canola oil. One, it has a high smoke point, so it's very good to use as cooking oil. And then two, it is the most unsaturated fat. So essentially all kind of oils have some degree of saturated fat, but canola oil is the one with the least amount of saturated fat. So that's something good to know.
Okay, that sounds great. Now, I have chosen a much more complicated dish for you. It's not a dump and go kind of dish, but I think if those of you are looking for a casserole to take to a potluck, or just a good, nutritious, full of beans dish, this is it. Bean and artichoke. Okay, so what you're gonna do, any questions so far about any of the recipes before we move on? Yes, Mary Jo? Okay, Dina, can you use almond milk instead of soy? Yes, you can. Okay. It won't have the same flavor. It won't have probably the same flavor, but you could. Yes, and I love almond milk as well. Okay, anybody else? Any other? Yes, Kathy?
Jim, do you drain the chickpeas or leave the juice in? I drain the chickpeas.
Okay, very good. Okay. Any other questions? Good. Let's just clarify all of them as we go to. We have 2 more recipes. And then we'll have a short lecture, and then we will get to eat some of this yummy food. Yes, another question? Yes, Mary Jo?
Yes, baking powder. That's my preference, but you are more than welcome to use baking soda. It's one or the other? Yes, one or the other. Same amount. What about different recipes like baking soda? Can you use the baking powder instead? Yes, that is my preference. That's how I do it. Yes. What is it called for both?
Do you want to get the microphone, Lisa? Yeah, that might help hear you better.
To be honest, the original recipe calls for both baking soda and baking powder. I prefer to just use baking powder. That's just me because of the soda taste. I always pick up the soda taste in all of the desserts or in any recipe for some reason. But that's just my preference.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I use aluminum-free
Yes.
baking powder.
Yes.
Right, it's healthier. I always purchase aluminum-free.
Yes.
I purchase mine at Whole Foods, but I believe you can purchase it at Publix or any grocery store. Rumford brand. Rumsford, is it?
Rumford. Rumford.
Rumford,
brand.
okay. If you go to Whole Foods, they have the 365. It's their brand. I buy that one. It's cheaper. And it's a larger container.
Very good. Anybody else? Good. Anybody else? David, did you have a comment? Yes.
To point out, that's a good point that she said aluminum free. So there's aluminum, very trace amounts practically almost everywhere in the air and in the food. But the least, if we have some control, if we can have some control with our intake of aluminum, it's best for that. So it's good that when you get baking powder, it's aluminum free, because aluminum in high doses in your body, there's been studies with antacids like Tums, but not Tums, Malax, and has aluminum, and has been shown long-term use of that, and more than recommended is aluminum toxicity, and then they're seeing bone disease and some neurological defects. So as much as you can control aluminum or any kind of toxic metal, you make that decision to do so. Yes. Well, baking soda, that is a good question. That I do not know exactly, but it's something that I can look at. I know baking soda itself, it has the aluminum, traces of the aluminum. And what makes a baking powder is that you add an acid to the soda, and that's how it expands the bread or whatever baked good you're trying to do.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. So baking soda, if you want your items to have more of a rise, that's really the purpose of baking soda, is so that it rises a little bit more.
Okay, are you ready to make a casserole? Okay, so when you are looking at your recipe, just take a little extra time for this. So the first thing you do, you place your just slices of bread in the food processor, and I already did it for saving time, and this is what came out, just like breadcrumbs, right? But you made them yourself. And I used the Ezekiel 4-9 bread that is available for you at Publix, and it's sprouted bread. It's a fantastic bread. I can have it here available for you to come and take a picture at the end of the cooking class so you can see, but this is a fantastic bread. Another bread that our family uses is Angelic Bakehouse. Dave's, we use some of the sprouted whole wheat bread. It's just the grains are sprouted, so it's easier on our digestive system. Okay, so I have that set aside, and I go and I set my oven to 400, right? That's the next step, and I have something really good going in there. Can't wait to eat it. Okay, and so we will do that. Then I take the beans, 2 cans of gray northern or navy beans, and we put them in a colander, and we let them drain, and we do not let the liquid go to waste. We take the liquid and we keep it aside, and if we don't have 1 cup, we just add a little bit of water to make it to 1 cup, right? So we are getting all these parts together. And then next, you are going to add the garlic and the leeks. Now, let's talk a little bit about leeks. How many of you are familiar with a leek? Oh, look at you guys. That's surprising for Americans. That's more like a European thing. As a matter of fact, when my mom was here from Romania, she kept asking me, I need praz. Praz is leek in Romanian. Praz. I know you're from Poland. I know we use a lot of this. Did you know that the Roman Emperor Nero ate leeks every day to make his voice stronger? To make his voice stronger. And this is a poem I found that I thought was very interesting. It says this: the strong and mighty eat their leeks. That is why they're not weak. Be like a poet, wise and meek, eat healthy food and clearly speak, wiser words than the Romans or Greeks, as you glow with the health many seek. I was like, wow, a poem about leeks. And so for those of you who have never seen this incredible onion family and garlic family and chives family. This is a leek right here. That's a pretty big one. And you know what? The best leeks are from Whole Foods. I bought one at Walmart and they were like little tiny ones. This is from Whole Foods. I just love this particular one from them. Look at that. That is big, right? Okay, now, do they have a lot of nutrition? They actually do. David, did you have a
Yes. No, basically, the leeks family and leafy greens, they're rich in chlorophyll, and has been shown again to help with cell regeneration and chlorophyll. Interesting enough, is the molecular structure is almost identical to the human blood cell, but instead of iron in the middle, it's magnesium. So that's what makes it different. But it just goes to show, when in Revelation it says the tree of life, the leaves is for the healing of the nations, you can take of it like that. For leafy greens as anti-carcinogenic and all the rest of the good stuff.
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yes. Yes. We just cut the little part off at the bottom, and my friend Janita and my friend Rem came today, and let me tell you, we're chopping 18 cups of these. Did you hear that? We did 18 cups for you. And so this is, you just chop it out here, and then you just wash it really, really well. It was very labor intensive, but we love you and we did it. Because we want to feed you good food here. When you come to we love having you here, so you are our guest. And so, Janita, thank you for your hard work, and Ram, thank you very much. And so they're already chopped. Look at that. And have you guys seen these reusable bags? How many of you have seen this? You know how much plastic we have, plastic water bottle, plastic bags. And this is a very great alternative. They're good quality, they open easy, and so instead of keeping them in a Ziploc bag, this is a washable, healthier alternative if possible, just to reduce waste, right? Okay, we have some water. I think some of you might be thirsty. Some water coming up. Or you can get this at Whole Foods or Amazon, but there's a special brand. It's called Stash. Oh, Target has them too. Okay, great. Okay, so the leeks are all ready to go. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's just wait for the water. If you're thirsty, please raise your hand. Okay, everybody's happy. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to look at your recipe, the third bullet down. It says drain the beans in a colander, reserving the liquid. Then the next one, fourth, add the garlic cloves, and we already chopped them up. So we add them to this pan, and the salt. And I do use Himalayan, but I do want to take iodine in my diet. If I do that, I do like the Himalayan salt the best. And we do the leeks. We put them all in here. And the rosemary. Now, this is fresh herbs. And that's what we used. My two friends, Ram and Janita, and then Betty came later to help us chop the leeks. Let me tell you, when I opened this, it's just beautiful flavor. I love dry herbs, and if you have to use them, use them. But if you really want flavor in your food, this is the way to go. Fresh herbs. And so I put them all there, and the sage and the thyme and the rosemary, the rosemary smells so good. And all these yummy herbs. And then we just mix them together. And this is what it looks like. See the mixture here? Because I just made enough to show you how to actually put the dish together without spending a lot of time over each step. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to spray. And then the beans are mixed as well with the herbs. I'm just going to spray, then I'm going to put some of the mixture, the bean mixture that I just described to you with all the herbs here. So that's the first layer of beans. So you just do that first layer of beans, right? And then you take this feta cheese. Now the original recipe came with goat cheese. And we trying to make it vegan, right? And so we took this feta cheese. You can find this at Publix. And we are going to shred it to kind of give the little appearance of goat cheese. How many of you have heard of this feta cheese, the Violife feta cheese? Oh, wow, look at you guys. That's awesome. Yeah. So I shred it. Now I put a half a block. So that's dependent on how much fatty you like it. Of course, it has coconut oil, so it's kind of fatty. So it's up to you, but I just take and I sprinkle it on the beans, right? And then I add the artichoke mixture that is described in your, remember we cooked that on the stove, it's all ready to go. So we're gonna put that on the middle of the casserole, right? So you just kind of, I'm sorry, we tried to get our camera working, but we're still finishing up the kitchen. We have a few things to do with our audio visual, but next time, right? There's always a next time. Then you put the rest of the beans again. So only half of the beans, and then the second half. And then the rest of the feta cheese. And again, it depends how fatty you like it. So here goes. There. And then I already mixed a little bit of oil with the breadcrumbs, just enough to give that breadcrumbs look. And I just sprinkle them in here. And then I bake it. I clean it up. And then at the end, if you may excuse me, I will show you. No, it's fine. And you will get to see when we serve you all. It's warm, but not hot. Any questions so far about the casserole? Yes?
Do you have to use cheese?
No, you don't. As a matter of fact, if you have time, you can make your own out of tofu. And that's probably the healthiest alternative to the feta cheese. That's something quick if you're busy and you need to go to a potluck, or if you want to have somebody over and you want to make, integrate leeks in your diet, since we learned is one of really a superfood, has so many wonderful nutrients, then I would use that. But you don't have to. Sure, you can try without. It does add quite a bit of taste to it. Yes?
Where do you get the artichokes from?
Oh, yes. This is the artichokes. And I got them, I think, either Walmart or Publix. I sometimes get them at Whole Foods. And I like them in water. You don't want all that oil. It will make it too greasy. So you want to get the artichokes that come in water. Anybody else? Yes?
If you have to cook a fresh artichoke, how do you do it with fresh artichoke?
Oh, that's a very good question. And really, that's probably the healthiest. But Rem, where are you, Rem? Okay, my friend Rem, how do you cook do you know how to cook real artichokes? I have cooked them and I have had them, but I don't. It's very labor intensive. So if you have the time, Marjorie, you can Google it, right? Google can tell you how to have your own artichokes. But if you're a busy person like me and like most of us, I think the canned ones are good. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
You said the alternative to cheese would be tofu.
Yes. Yes.
Firm tofu?
So probably firm tofu, if you go online and you just put vegan goat cheese, and it will show a recipe how to make it. I almost did it for you, but that adds another step. It's already this recipe, you got to make this mixture and this mixture, that mixture. And so probably for something like that, if you have time, it will be lovely. And I can actually email you a recipe. If you're interested, just let me know. I found an excellent one. I just didn't want to add, because I know a lot of you are just making a lot of new changes. And so just to give you an idea of what you could use. Anybody else? Okay, I think we will have a door prize, and I'll get my next recipe, the last one.
Well, I cannot wait to try that. I had no idea that leeks were that healthful. I must say, sometimes I steer away from them myself, so maybe I'll have to give them another shot. Okay, does anyone want to draw for me? We need another draw number for me? Okay. All right. So the number is 793891. Oh, Joanna. Very good. I just met Joanna yesterday at our potluck. It was so fun to connect with her. So glad that she's been coming. And I hope you can enjoy this, Joanna. Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much, Heather. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so are you ready to make soup? What would we do without soup, right? Soup, soup, soup. So one of my favorite soups of my family, flavorful, wonderful soup is the red lentil coconut soup. So David, are red lentils good for us?
Yes, definitely very good for you. Red lentils have some properties that help with your heart healthy properties, and of course the fiber in lentils is fascinating. That, again, it helps lower cholesterol, control blood sugar, and in fact 1 cup of lentils contains about 18 grams of protein. So it's a very good source of protein. Something good to know.
Oh, I love that. Lots of protein. Yes. I wonder what would happen at some of our hospitals if we integrated some of this. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
And I know that some programs are offered, and maybe Dr. Guthrie can tell you a little bit more about that, plant-wise. So we're very happy to share with you a recipe where you can integrate good, healthy protein, right? Let me ask you this. Any questions so far? Okay, very good. So, okay, now I have some stuff cooking already just to make the recipe, again, shorten the time. But to start with, it says to heat the olive oil. I actually do not use oil for this recipe. I just take a stainless steel pot, and when you put it on your stove, if you turn it really hot, when you just take your onions and put them on, that releases a liquid from the onions that actually helps you not to actually use oil. And so I will put the onions here and the red bell peppers. And what else does it say there? The ginger, right? It's so fragrant, and it was grated. We grated the ginger, and I just mix it, right? And I cook it for a couple minutes till you just start smelling. This is just such a wonderful smelling vegetable mixture here. And then I went ahead and I add the jalapeno or serrano. I love serrano pepper. We chopped it all up. Thank you, Rem, for all that hard work of chopping too. And then we add the tomato paste, and this is Thai red curry paste, available at Walmart or Publix. So we add that there in the mixture of the vegetables and the tomato paste. My favorite tomato paste is the one you can get in a jar. And it's funny because I grew up, we never bought. We always made our own tomato everything, tomato sauce, tomato paste. My family still does. We have a cellar in our house. When I grew up, we had a cellar, so we preserved a lot of our fresh fruits and vegetables. As a matter of fact, that's like one of my favorite recipes. In the winter, go into our cellar, and we had shelving there, and we had pears and apples, and we would get together with relatives and just visit around our pears that we harvested in the fall. And so when I came to America, it was very interesting. My dad would come visit me, and she said, Raluca, you know, why is this all this waste? You know, I see all these beautiful lawns, and people are just everywhere. They're spending so much time in lawn care. In Romania, we use every piece of land, right, to actually plant gardens and to have food to eat, right? And so, you know, if something, coronavirus came, my family, they didn't even miss going to the grocery store because they have their gardens and they have their cellar. They get this big container. It's a round container full of cabbage. We eat a lot of cabbage. And so I love if I can use stuff that's not canned, and I have not gotten to the point in America where I can actually do that, but I want to get to that point because the coronavirus pandemic really showed us how quickly things can fall apart, right? So it's very good for us to learn how to grow our own food. And so here it is, and you just mix it all together, and the garlic. How many of you love garlic? I tell you, that is so, so, so flavorful. And a little bit of cinnamon, because the cinnamon helps all those amazing flavors to come out. And so you mix it and cook it really well. And when you are about to this stage, see that? Do you see that there? Okay, so I've been cooking it. I can smell it. It smells so good. I made this on Friday, and somebody walked in here. Maybe it was my husband. Was like, "What are you making? It smells so good." So once I have this mixture ready, I will get my 7 cups of water. Right? Here we go, and I pour it in here. And the red lentils, we wash them and rinse them really well, and we put them in the pot. And of course, we rinse them for you early, so they got a little hard, but just put them in here. For sake of time, I'll just keep mixing that. And the garbanzo, here goes again, the chickpea. Here we go, chickpea again. I will put that in there, and I will just let them cook for a while, and those spices uncovered for about 20-25 minutes. And those spices and flavors are going to just stay together and start smelling in your home, creating a wonderful ambiance of maybe Asian / I don't know, just a great ambiance. Say it again. Indian, yeah, Indian. That sounds good. Okay. I haven't tried it because, we are a bigger family. You could try it and let me know. Yes.
Where do you find tomato paste in the jar?
Whole Foods.
Okay, good to
Maybe Publix too, but Whole Foods, yeah. You can just Google it. Okay, so 25 minutes we'll cook. And what do I do at the end? I add the lime juice and the cilantro. I do not add the salt. So again, why do we add the salt right now? Just the salt is at the end because they will get hardened, right? We want the lentils to cook well first. Then we add at the end the 2 teaspoons of salt, a little bit of cilantro, and lime juice. And that's all you're going to get. We did not put the lime juice. I have to show you how much soup we made last Friday. We made this big for you today. 5 recipes. So we're going to serve that to you guys today. But it was actually quite the adventure coming here. What happened is I come in here, my friend Janita and Marcela, they came to help me chop vegetables, and we went to the stove. And as you know, this is a new kitchen, and the stove will not turn on. And I said, Lord, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What am I? Maybe between 3:30 and 4, because we're chopping for a while. What are we going to do? So I call our project manager, which is Elmer. He said, well, check the circuit breaker. We went outside. We reset it. I called GE. I called the place where we bought the appliances. I called our electrician. Long story short, my husband came. He checked every connection. There was a chirping in here, and Betty tried to hear it. Remember when you came to Diabetes Undone? Well, that's what that chirping was about, because when my husband opened here, there's a little thing that says United Fire, and it says for service, call. And I think Elmer was working on it, and we called, and the guy called me right back. And he said, I'm in Orlando. This is like 20 minutes to 5, and people close on Friday for the weekend, right? And God is so good and was so merciful to us. He said, I will be there in 45 minutes. I was like, thank you. So Janita and I were wondering, should I go home and make the soup? Marcella and I were talking. And I'm like, that is a big pot. It's going to take me a long time because I'm all set up here with all the veggies. I'll have to transport them all to my house. And I'm about to do that. I'm about to take all my stuff and put it in my car to go to my house. And I do have a gas burner in our pool area. And I was going to do that. But he comes in here, goes over here, opens the last drawer down, and he says, what happens, this is a commercial building, so there is a setting on the stove. So whenever there's a power surge, that button gets turned off and the stove goes off to just protect from fires, right? So he came in here, and in 1 minute he had it fixed. I was so grateful. So how am I going to meet my friend? How am I going to feed you guys on Sunday? Because this is the soup. So it was amazing. Okay, so that's the coconut soup. We'll have some for supper tonight. And so what we're going to do now is we are going to ask you a big favor. As you know, oh, that's a very good point, and it's right here. Yes, when you put the water, you also put the coconut milk. Great catch. This did not make it on the pan. The coconut, yes, you got to add that coconut. So you cook it for 25 minutes, and you add the cilantro, the lime, and the salt, and you have an amazing, flavorful soup. Now, those of you who work, and you said, I want to integrate beans in my diet. So let's say you go to cafeteria and you buy a salad. You go to Subway and buy a salad. You go to wherever you go that may only have a salad, just get these. These are Publix. And they're low sodium, just black beans. And that's what I did. One time I was on this weird diet where I couldn't have garlic and this for like a month. And that was really hard for me because I'm from European and I love onions and garlic. That's like life for us. So you don't even need a knife or scissors or anything. You just cut it right here, and you can add this to your salads wherever you may go and whatever you eat. That's how you can get. And it's in a really nice container, paper container, it's not plastic. And I discovered this. So we were actually eating dinner at the Mexican restaurant on the beach one time with the Maury Lanes, and I couldn't have a lot of the food, so I had this with me, so I was fine. So yeah, this is a great little thing that I found at Publix. Okay. Yes, they're in the same section as the regular beans. Yes, up on top of the one that I go to, which is on Doyle Road in Deltona. Okay, now we're going to ask you a big favor. As you know, we've been working really hard to make food for you, and we want you to sample it. So in order to help with that, Dr. George Guthrie has agreed to give you a short 20-minute lecture on beans, which will enable our team to kind of clean up a little bit and get this table beautiful for you to eat samples. So what we're going to ask you to do is to gently turn your chairs around, so that way we can work here quietly, but kind of like we're not distracting you, right? And then when you finish that, you can turn back at us, okay? So Dr. Guthrie is over there. He's going to get the mic, and just turn your chair around.
Excuse me, sorry. Let's try it.
Well, that's hard work, isn't it? And what do they say? The last shall be first and the first shall be last, right? So I guess the front row is now the back row. So hi, y'all back there. Once we get settled, we'll talk a little bit about America's health problem and the solution for it. Americans know how to get calories. That's something we do really well. As a matter of fact, it appears like we get too many sometimes, right? They tend to grow on us. Interestingly, those nutritionists who tell us how we should eat, and the government agencies that look at are we getting enough, have told us that there are several things that Americans are deficient in, nutritionally. Oh, I don't think you can probably. Someone gave me this mask. It's a little hard to hear, but I don't know if. Does it help? No. Can you read it? Yeah, I think that's why she gave it to me. I am a human being. Okay. So there are several things which we are deficient in as Americans. And we're going to discover that beans are the answer to these deficiencies. The first deficiency is fiber. The recommendations run up to about 29, sometimes even higher, grams of fiber a day. The average American only gets about 15. So really we're about halfway there. What is fiber good for in our diets? We didn't think it was all that important when we first looked at it. You see, foods that tend to be high in fiber tend to spoil a little easier. And so industry has taken the fiber out. And we thought, well, the big problem is calories. So we just need to get enough calories to our population, and that will take care of it. Well, it ends up that fiber is extremely important in helping our gut bacteria grow. There's good gut bacteria, there's bad gut bacteria. And when one does not eat fiber, the bad bacteria tend to overgrow. If you eat enough fiber, especially the soluble fiber, beans have both soluble and insoluble fiber, and that helps the bacteria in the gut, the good bacteria, thrive, and when they thrive, we tend to do better. It's been a little bit of a surprise to us to discover that the bacteria in our colon can actually affect our weight, your risk of diabetes, etc. There is one of the classes of bacteria, they call it Firmicutes. When Firmicutes is high, people gain weight, and people are at high risk for diabetes. Firmicutes thrives when there's inadequate fiber. So eating extra fiber helps your body, helps the colon grow the good bacteria and push the bad Firmicutes out. Isn't that interesting? So maybe it's a good thing we are human beings. So the next one I put down here has already been mentioned, and that is magnesium. So the people who look at our nutrition tell us that if you look at across the population, 50% of Americans are not getting the recommended daily allowance for magnesium. And we already heard that beans have lots of magnesium in them. You probably, and it was mentioned, I really appreciated David mentioning that. You know, the chlorophyll, that the kind of the green part of the leaf is like our hemoglobin, carrying oxygen, but it has, instead of iron, it has magnesium in the middle. So both beans and the greens are very high in magnesium. They also tell us that if you look at people over age 65, 80% of people are not getting the recommended daily amount of magnesium. Animal products don't have all that much in them. So it makes sense to eat beans every day. Beans for breakfast, beans for lunch, beans for supper. As I said, we're human beings. The next piece, the next thing that Americans are deficient in is potassium. And this one we are really bad at. 98% of Americans do not get the recommended daily allowance of potassium. So beans are also high in potassium. What foods are high in potassium? Bananas. Everybody says bananas, and beans have 3 times as much potassium as bananas. Where have you been living?
Does it matter which type of bean?
It's going to be about the same throughout all of the beans. I mean, there's going to be a little variation, but there's a lot of potassium in beans. So you can do yourself a favor by taking beans for potassium as well. Now, the other thing that I would like to point out is not so much a deficiency in the American diet, but a distortion in the American diet. We have become a culture that believes the only place you can get good quality protein is from meat. Well, the science does not support this. As was pointed out, the lowly soybean has all the essential amino acids. And to get the essential amino acids that you need for a day, one day, you need 110 grams, that's a little over 3 ounces, of soybeans. So you're not going to come up short in essential amino acids if you take beans. And by the way, beans is the plant source for proteins. So when you think of a protein food, instead of thinking beef, please think beans, because the protein is about the same. Let me share with you some numbers. I memorized these some time ago. I don't know the whole, food analysis for every food, but I memorized these and thinking they might be helpful for you. Anything that's alive has protein in it. Pro is for, teen is life. Protein for life. So anything that's alive has protein in it. Does lettuce have protein in it? Yes. You didn't think that. The protein also has fat in it and some carbohydrates, and of course lots of fiber and water. Oranges have about 8% of the calories from protein. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Did you think oranges would have protein? We don't think it that way, do we? But it's there. Potatoes, around 11% of the calories are from protein. So that's more than oranges. You know, they've done studies looking at potatoes. Remember can you just live on potatoes? And you can't really get a deficiency in protein if you're eating just potatoes, right? So there is enough of the proteins that you need even in just plain potatoes. Now, it ends up that beans are around 22 to 26% protein. And that is the same range of percent calories for beef. So it's about the same. Now, the other calories in beef are going to be mostly fat, the saturated fat, which tends to cause trouble. When we talk about beans, the other 75% of the calories are going to be from complex carbohydrates. That is, the carbohydrates and fiber kind of all mixed up together. They're complex. They don't hit the body quickly. So this is a much safer way to eat. Again, we're human beings. Now, we all know how important protein is, but we've been sold a little bit of dishonesty here. We've been getting too much protein in our diet, and too much protein, especially animal protein, has negative effects on our physiology. Kidney stones, for example. We thought, oh, they're calcium stones, so maybe the best thing to do is to have a low calcium diet. And then it became evident that too much protein would also lead to kidney stones. So they put the two side by side, randomized controlled trial. Half the people with kidney stones, had one kidney stone, were put on a low protein diet, and the other half were, again, randomly assigned to a low calcium diet. And what do you know? The low protein protected against the next kidney stone twice as good as the low calcium. So a lower protein diet is beneficial as far as kidney stones. How does that work? Well, we think we understand it. The high protein makes our bodies a little bit acid. And our body doesn't like to be acid, so it pulls out a buffer. The number one buffer is something called calcium carbonate. It comes out of the bones. And then the urine is made a little more acid, and the acidity pulls the calcium out in the urine. So high protein tends to increase the calcium in the urine and increase the kidney stones. Interesting, huh? So here's some other interesting things that might be interesting to you. This one is diabetes. There was a 2015 meta-analysis of 13 random somebody who has diabetes and moving them from groups. And what they found was when they moved from animal protein to plant protein, there was a significant improvement, statistically significant improvement in A1C and in the fasting glucose and in insulin levels. So just moving from animal protein to plant protein. 2015, there was a large European study that demonstrated that replacing 10 grams of dietary carbohydrates with animal protein. So if you take the carbohydrates, if you all heard of this, haven't you, where they do this keto diet, right? You have to do a lot of protein to plant protein. So this takes 3% of the energy takes from plant protein. Now substitute from animal protein and substitute plant protein. There was a 10% decrease in all-cause mortality and a 12% decrease in cardiovascular mortality. Did you catch that? Just moving some of your animal protein towards plant protein. You don't have to eat one of the areas to improve your health. You just need to eat more plants. Isn't that interesting? Substituting plant protein for animal protein significantly improves our health and decreases our risk of health. So that's good encouragement. And kind of I guess a summary of some of the short summary of some of the benefits from eating beans. After all, we are human beings. Does anybody have any questions about what I've shared? Yes, ma'am. Oh my, she says she's had a bunch of kidney stones and would rather not go through this again. Well, pills, right? So for kidney stones, your number one problem is dehydration. And the number two problem is a high protein diet, especially animal protein, or proteins that have been removed from their natural state, because whenever you pull them out, they become acidifying. Even plant proteins that are removed, if you take the protein out of the bean and you have just textured vegetable protein, well, you're going to have some of the same problems. Okay, yes. Where does the beef cow get all that protein? Well, I think it was from the grass. Your point is well taken. And as I pointed out, anything that's growing has protein in it, right? So
you're saying that the beef with protein, we get ABC protein, already been chewed.
It's already been chewed. That's right. The little cow factory concentrates the cowries. That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Giving these cows antibiotics and everything else to grow, which is not healthy.
Sure, I agree. It's a lot healthier for us to eat plants, and as close to as we can get them to the way God made them, right? I mean, one of the more we refine even the plants, they're not as healthy for us. So. Well, ladies, I shared what I had to share. You want 5 more minutes, okay? She wants 5 more minutes. What kind of questions do you have? Well, I'll try this one and see what you think. Maybe some of you have heard this before. You know, protein is what our bodies are made of structurally, right? We have muscles, and there's a couple of proteins, we call them actin and myosin, and they work together to make a muscle contract. Doesn't matter whether you're a fish or a chicken or a cow or a pig or a human, we all have this protein mix, actinomyosin. So that's kind of where the amino acids are, many of the amino acids are put to work. Your skin is, of course, much of it is protein. Your hair, there's mucus in your saliva, which is protein. So half your bones are protein, the other half is calcium. So protein is structure. That's kind of what we use it, structure and function in our body. Yes, there's some protein used for hormones and whatnot. But if we're growing, if we're getting bigger, we will need more protein to help us grow, right? Is this something that is good for us? Well, if we're big already, we probably want to lose rather than get bigger, right? Because none of us, as the Bible says, can by worry add 1 inch to our height. I think all we do is add to our girth, right? But the time in our life when we actually do grow at the greatest rate is that first year of life, right? After mama's womb, and then that kind of growth spurt, if you will, doubling the weight by 9 to 12 months. What is the very best food for doubling your weight in 9 to 12 months? Well, it's mama's breast milk, isn't it? And the pediatricians will tell you it is not cow's milk. Cow's milk will not work very well at all and will cause trouble in babies. So it's breast milk. And what would you guess the percent calories are in breast milk? It is around, depending on how you look at it, 5 to 6% of the calories. You know, it's actually quite low compared to what we have been taught. Yet there's plenty there for the baby. I mean, that's even lower percent protein than there is in an orange, right? And it's adequate amount of protein. It's the right protein. It's what the baby needs to grow. And, of course, babies grow and do very well with that. Fascinating, huh? So did I stimulate any thoughts? Any questions? Yes, sir.
All beans are about the same as
Beans are relatively similar, okay? There's the lentils, which tend to be a little, I think, on the lower side for protein, and the soybeans tend to be on the higher side, okay? So that is, there's a spread, which is why I gave you the 22 to kind of 26%. Now, I'm surprised nobody has asked about flatus. You've heard me before, haven't you? So the flatus in beans, gas we call it, right? And you know, the beans, the musical fruit, the more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel, so let's have beans for every meal. I've been had. So the gas in the beans actually comes from some sugars that are in the beans. And the stachyose and rhabdose are the two. And if you soak the beans first and then pour the water off, that tends to go off, and that will decrease the amount of gas that comes from the beans. And the longer you eat beans, the better the colon bacteria are able to manage the proteins, and the less gas you'll get from them. So that's a word of encouragement to you for those of you who are afraid to even ask the question. Okay, one last one before we're done.
I read years ago that they were working on gasless beans. Put it in, and I haven't heard anything since then. Kidney stones, if you're saying lacking water, you're saying they just drink.
Dehydration is the number one cause of kidney stones. You cannot make kidney stones if your urine is dilute. It's only when it's concentrated that you make kidney stones. You can make sure you don't get dehydrated. That's right. At least flush the system out every day. Okay, I've gotten the signal from Miss Raluca that she's ready for you to turn around and be fed up.
So, yeah, you can turn around, and we have a couple announcements, a special prayer. And what I would like to do is I would like to request all of those that have helped this program to come to the front. I would like to take a special picture because, as you know, an event like this takes a lot of work and effort. But we're so happy to do it. And we also have a game, a quiz, and we have a winner. And we'll do that after we serve everyone. We'll